creep that's occurred over time that is now causing worried debate within the halls of the professional UN about how much institution building should we really get involved in. On the one hand, on the peacekeeping side and the early peace building strategy concept. And I think also there's a certain amount of nervousness on the longer term development side as well, and whether this is a UN role, bilateral development role, how are these coordinated? What are their ultimate goals? How much can you afford to build? How little can you afford to build? What kind of structure is going to be stable if you take your scaffolding off and go home? And what kind of structure will fall apart? We've had experience of both. Burundi, more or less stable, I guess. East Timor, not so much. Sierra Leone, more or less stable. And I say more or less. Because, we found out, say, in Haiti, fixing the police is not enough, so you got to fix the courts and the corrections to go along with that. But fixing courts, police, and corrections isn't enough if you haven't fixed the governing institutions and the law and everything, and it kind of ramifies up and down and sideways. So you are left attempting to reconfigure a fragile or failed state with not enough resources in any case to do it well. And I think the very much unanswered question in the entire enterprise is, what is the minimum acceptable level of damage repair? What's the minimum acceptable level of, say, human rights respect and let's just leave it at respect on the part of the government? And what kinds of outcomes damage any organization's credibility that embarks upon this enterprise? Because we certainly know that we can't do everything. We're not going to leave behind ideal democracies, even in the small countries where the system has invested. Because the rest of the system, the countries that are successful have evolved over hundreds of years. In some cases, within 2 generations, we're clawing at each other with every weapon at their disposal, right? Europe, World War II, Pacific War, Europe War. We're not that far removed from this kind of devastation. And we expect change in many of the areas where we deploy operations to occur within 5 to 10 years, right? And I think these are fundamental dilemmas. We're not going to answer them today. They're questions of resources, culture, how much outsiders can do, and how much outsiders can control, and how much interest they have in doing so. Sorry.
Okay, I will welcome a second and last round of questions. I have one person over there, Lauriane and Jake. Yes. Oui.
Hi, thank you for your presentation, very insightful. I just wanted to, maybe I'm not sure if you want to go there right now, so I can understand if you do not want to, but in your last report, Mr. Durch, you were talking about the fact that we see actually increase in peace enforcement mission. Up to 80% of missions now are actually mandated under the Chapter 7. So I was wondering if the whole discussion of actually robust peacekeeping is one issue, and of course one delicate issue that is difficult to define, but now actually we see that there is more a move towards peace enforcement, which really blurs the line of war fighting. Do we want to go in that direction? It actually seems to be more of a pressing issue now than ever. And I wanted to see if, what are your views on that? I read your report, so I know that but is it even feasible to go there, or would it really blur the lines, or should we go back to actually this notion of robust, where it's more malleable or more actually? So I would like your views on that. Thank you.
Lauriane.
Lauriane Théroux-Benoni du réseau francophone sur les opérations de paix. Jocelyn mentioned at the beginning that I had the opportunity to sit at the C34 this year. I'm not sure actually if it was an opportunity or a punishment to sit through this very long, never-ending meeting, but it was interesting to have to follow how the concept note that was presented by the Secretariat was received and understood by the TCCs. And it was interesting to hear the EU delegate say that for him, robust peacekeeping was not only a military approach, was not peace enforcement, and was not new, to which the NAM representative answered, well, tell us what it is instead of telling us what it is not. And if it's not new, why are we talking about it? Was basically his answer. And so robust peacekeeping was basically assassinated during the C34 this year as a concept. The NAM recasted the debate, and instead of talking about robustness, they wanted to talk about efficiency. And for them, efficiency translated into capacity, capability, equipment, training, etc. And they refused to have robust peacekeeping as a different section. They actually wanted to have it under the training section, and the word robust was deleted from the report. It's not in there, although the word deterrence is. And so my question is, obviously, robust peacekeeping is dead for this year's report, but it was a really important concept for some countries, delegation, and regional groups, obviously. And I would like to know how you envision the future of this concept, or of the discussion that surrounds this concept, not only in terms of its conceptual content, but also in terms of what it means for the future of peacekeeping operations.
Jake? Laurie? Lauriane?
Sorry.
There we go. In the last couple of years, we've seen a major increase in the deployment of police to peacekeeping operations, especially in the form of foreign police units. Bill, you've written a lot on police. Jean-Marie, you've overseen much of the increase in police deployment. So I wonder if both of you would comment on the role of police in robust peacekeeping and protection of civilians as opposed to that of military forces. Thanks.
And the last question, Mr. Tong.
Hi, my name is Lawrence Tung from the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, specifically Stabilization and Reconstruction Task Force. Just getting back to what you were saying about resource implications and the ratios that you believe are necessary for the effective protection of civilians, especially with respect to the physical protection, it was not entirely surprising to hear you say to give us the numbers that you did, but it is a little disheartening, especially when you look at the situation in the DRC and the force levels in the two missions in Sudan. I'm just wondering, given the existing political situation, what are some of the things that countries like Canada can't do to do our best to set these missions up for success in these conditions that where they are clearly under-resourced and they lack the key enablers that help them do their mission well? Thanks.
Merci. Alors, Jean-Marie.
Future of robust peacekeeping. Personally, I think the less we talk about robust peacekeeping, probably the better. I think it's been oversold. I think it's important, and I like the idea of talking about capable peacekeeping. I'm not surprised by what you say on the debate in the C34, because it reflects also the tension between countries which feel that they are being asked to take more and more risks, and countries that push, I mean, what I was saying earlier, that push the issue but do not share in the risk. And so between that and also the fear that under the guise of robust peacekeeping there is an attempt at really infringing on the sovereignty of states and shaping them with an agenda that goes beyond what many countries in the UN are prepared to accept in terms of democratization and the rest, I think that's an unhelpful way to approach issues. And if you want to build consensus with a broad array of troop contributors, you have to talk more about the security of the troops, the credibility of the force. I would side somewhat with the NAM in that discussion, and I would to draw them in rather than sort of push them aside. The role of the police. I also think that there is risk of overselling what the police can do. To be honest, I think the number of situations where in urban environments, having foreign police units which are trained for crowd control is better than having battalions for obvious reasons. And so you have Of course, the increase has been quick because